on the channel. In tonight's video we have part number 3. Last week we had Smash or Pass and the history of horror movies. Today we're doing something similar to the latter. We're sticking with the horror movie theme. And I've put conspiracy theories in the title just because it makes a nicer title. But really it's a case of creepy, unexplainable things, curses, etc. that happened on set of certain horror movies, or sort of as a result of said horror movies as well. So that's what we're going to be delving into. I've got 6 or 7, I think, popular horror movies where, actors, directors, staff, etc. all reported experiencing strange things either on set, during filming, or afterwards. So hopefully it should be interesting as we build up towards Halloween. And as you'll know, on this coming Thursday, keep your eyes peeled for our first ever 2-hour-long video. It has been recorded, it has been edited. I just need to pick a time to upload it because it will probably take my internet a good 2.5-3 hours. But that'll be going live on Thursday, 2 hours of scary Reddit stories, so be ready for that. But without further ado, let's get into the horror movie conspiracy theories. We begin with possibly one of the most iconic horror movies of all time. It is, of course, The Exorcist. So, this article: The Exorcist cast endured deaths, fires, and more mishaps. Was the set haunted? Even before The Exorcist began filming, strange problems would arise on the set. A catastrophic and costly fire ignited. One of the actors died shortly after filming, and while many were quick to write these events off as mere coincidence, others began to think something more sinister was afoot. I'm not a convert to the occult, but after all I've seen on this film, I definitely believe in demonic possession. There are things that cannot be treated by medical or psychiatric means, director William Friedkin told the horror magazine Castle of Frankenstein in 1974. It seems strange, foreign, and impossible, but it exists. He continued, we were plagued by strange and sinister things from the beginning. It is simply the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. With The Exorcist believer expanding the story of the original, let's look back at the supposed haunting of The Exorcist. So, we begin with the movie's multiple setbacks. Just as the cast and crew began to prep for production, a fire broke out on the set of the McNeil home. It's claimed that the only room that survived the disaster was Reagan's bedroom. As told in the documentary Fear of God, 25 Years of The Exorcist. All told, it took 6 weeks to rebuild the set. With the set rebuilt, the project was back on track. Momentarily. In his first week of filming, Max von Sydow, who portrayed Father Lancaster Merrin, learned that his brother had died and promptly returned to Sweden for the funeral, according to Castle of Frankenstein. Similarly, Linda Blair, the then child star behind Regan McNeil, lost her grandfather, causing yet another delay. Then, a 10-foot demon statue said to be used in the film was lost in Hong Kong while en route to a filming location in Iraq, the horror magazine reported. Next we have injuries and death. In the documentary The Fear of God, 25 Years of The Exorcist, Ellen Burstyn, who played deceased was actor Jack McGowan, who died shortly after appearing in the movie as film director Burke Dennings, one of the characters killed by a demon-possessed Reagan. Only 54 years old, McGowan died of complications from the flu at the Algonquin Hotel in New York City, the New York Times reported in January 1973. Others on the set suffered lifelong injuries. A crew member lost his toe, while a carpenter chopped off his thumb. Blair shared that she fractured her lower back while convulsing in a harness, leading to a lifelong struggle with scoliosis. In the documentary Fear of God, Blair remembered screaming, "Please make it stop. It hurts. It burns." And it truly was hurting her, but her pleas mirrored the script, so nobody knew to stop the scene. And that's the footage they used in the movie, where I'm crying my eyes out because they are brutally damaging my back, Blair said. I don't know how I feel about that. Burstein also hurt her back while filming, though it was more human error than supernatural interference. They'd been filming a scene in which Burstein was roughly pushed to the floor by Reagan's demonic powers, a feat made possible by having a crew member pull back on Burstein's harness. But during one of the takes, the crew member pulled too hard and Burstein's back was injured. That was a bad experience, she told The Guardian in 2018. So what did the cast really think of the haunting rumours? Though much has been said about the so-called haunting, many of those who worked on the film, including Blair, have dismissed the claims as mere speculation. If you shoot something for a year, people are going to get hurt, people are going to die, actor Max von Sydow said in Fear of God, adding it's very good publicity. If you don't believe in the devil, you don't believe in curses. Of course, some crew members thought the set was indeed haunted, so Friedkin invited Father Thomas Birmingham, a consultant on the film, to perform an exorcism. I said, "No, Billy, I don't want to increase anxiety or anything like that, and we're probably not dealing with anything more than accident of one kind or another," Birmingham shared in the documentary, so instead he blessed everyone. As for Blair, she said the subject matter wasn't scary to her even as a 13-year-old, because she was raised Protestant and didn't entirely understand the concept of possession. As she explained in a 2000 interview with IGN, "I always say it's probably a good thing they didn't hire a Catholic child who may have heard about the devil, the things that were in the closet." We now move on to The Conjuring, certainly one of the better horror movies of the last 20 or so years. For a fictional film that sprang out of a true story, The Conjuring spawned quite a few real-life scary stories of its own. The 2013 horror film wasn't just a ghost story. By many accounts, the spirit of the story really came alive on set. So just as it's not a typical horror film, the inspiration for The Conjuring was also not the traditional story. Most fans of the horror universe know that it's based on the real-life case files of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the husband and wife paranormal investigative team who rose to prominence in both the paranormal and entertainment worlds. The writers, directors and producers on The Conjuring and its sequels consulted extensively with the real-life Lorraine Warren until her death in 2019. What's fascinating is that this story in particular, out of all their cases, had a profound effect on the Warrens themselves. The late Ed Warren himself insisted to producer Tony DeRosa Grund that the first film made explicitly about his and his wife's investigations be based on the Perron case. There are like those based on the Amityville haunting, that are indirectly inspired by cases the Warrens have investigated, but none of them had yet focused so specifically on the investigators themselves as main characters, along with the families experiencing the hauntings. The Perron case clearly carries a great significance and left quite an impact on the Warrens, just as it would on its cast, crew and audience. This particular set likely brought some palpable spiritual energy with it, and Vera Farmiga certainly felt that presence. The actors who played the Warrens were strongly affected by both the Perron case and its dramatisation, just like their real-life counterparts. And not just because it spawned a successful film franchise whose universe is still growing today. No, there were some things that happened during the production of The Conjuring that were too creepy to be coincidence. Vera Farmiga, for example, portrayed Lorraine Warren, who professed herself to be a clairvoyant medium. Lorraine's intrinsic connection to the spiritual world seems to have rubbed off on the actress who portrayed her, because Farmiga found herself mysteriously and repeatedly waking up between 3 and 4 in the morning on set. It's jarring to note that this time frame is commonly known as the witching hour or the devil's hour, a time of night associated with heightened supernatural activity due to the belief that witches, ghosts, demons, and the like reach their greatest power during this window, and that the line between life and death, physical and supernatural, is at its thinnest. But it gets even creepier than that. In this particular film, the specific time window in which the witch character died was during this witching hour. Farmiga was so shaken by the experience that it was she who pointed out to the director the uncanniness of this connection. The actress's sleep troubles persisted even after the movie wrapped. We now move on to the mysterious claw marks. In addition to sleep disturbances, Farmiga also dealt with mysterious claw marks that seemed to follow her wherever she went, even transcending both physical and digital barriers. The first time she encountered a set of 3 mysterious claw marks, they appeared on her computer screen. An interesting choice for a spirit to reveal itself. She had been working on a laptop, then closed it normally to take a phone call about being in The Conjuring. A phone call in which she expressed both her interest in the project and her desire to have Patrick Wilson play the part of her husband, saying that if he was in, she was in. When she opened her laptop again, she found 3 diagonal digital claw marks descending from right to left. Later on set, she again discovered 3 claw marks, but this time they cropped up much closer to home. The marks now appeared on her thigh. That was the last time they showed up, thankfully, and Farmiga did admit that the claw marks that appeared on her computer were slightly different from those that appeared on her leg. But maybe all that means is that there wasn't one supernatural force after her, but 2. The next section is titled Lights, Camera, Premonition. When the family visited the set of the film, one of the original Perron girls told co-writer Chad Hayes with conviction that she had a feeling something bad was going to happen that day. Later that day, to the shock of production and family alike, the girls' now elderly mother fell and broke her hip so seriously that they had to operate and replace it that same day. The family got the phone call right after the incident with Cindy and the witch, and when the rest of the family left the set to tend to their mother, the poor woman everyone's first reaction was that it was Bathsheba trying to do something to her. Coincidence or not, she was not the only one who hadn't come to the set, and the family all had to leave to attend to her. She had also been the one who appeared to get the brunt of the witch's wrath. The husband even said that he had good experiences with the presence in the house, while his wife felt so tortured that they insisted they'd leave. While her accident didn't happen on set, it alarmed everyone involved, especially those who had heard the daughter's prediction. And if Bathsheba's vendetta really had been focused primarily on the mum, perhaps the witch was still able to send a message even over a distance. Right, moving on to the next movie, which is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Truly one of the scariest exorcism movies in my opinion. This article is titled Exorcism of Emily Rosette was really haunted, as director confirms chilling incident. There's nothing more chilling than a horror film that branches out into real life. Already based on a true story, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, released in 2005, saw some chilling events happen on set, involving actress Laura Linney and her co-stars, including director Scott Derrickson. The haunting film follows a lawyer taking on a negligent homicide case involving the exorcism of a young girl, with eerie consequences. The cast experienced electronic devices turning on by themselves on set, with actress Jennifer Carpenter revealing to Dread Central that this happened multiple times with her radio. She said, "I thought about that when it happened, and 2 or 3 times when I was going to sleep my radio came on by itself. The only time it scared me was once because it was really loud and it was Pearl Jam's Alive." She also admitted Laura's TV came on a couple of times, while director Derrickson tweeted, "This is true. Also, Laura Linney's radio turned on at night 3 times during production." To make matters worse, the flick is based on true events. In real life, Annalise Michel, who was diagnosed with psychosis caused by temporal lobe epilepsy, was exorcised when her family became convinced she was possessed by a demon. Annalise was intolerant of various religious objects and was hearing voices, and psychiatric medication failed to reduce her symptoms. After a total of 67 exorcism sessions conducted on her, she stopped eating food and died of malnourishment and dehydration. Both her parents and 2 Roman Catholic priests called in to conduct the exorcism were found guilty of negligent homicide and originally sentenced to 6 months behind bars. Their sentences were reduced to 3 years probation and a fine. Annalise was just 23 years old when she passed away after sessions that lasted up to 4 hours each. Her autopsy report revealed she weighed just 68 pounds at the time of her death, and had suffered broken knees and torn tendons from kneeling to pray so often. Still, she continued to kneel on her broken knees to pray. Well, that's just really sad. It all started with the weird things that happened and then just went into the tragic background of that movie. I actually had no idea about that. So, sticking with the possession theme, we now have The Possession, in which some terrifying incidents happened on set, apparently. So, during the filming of The Possession, a 2012 supernatural horror film directed by Ole Bornedal and produced in part by Sam Raimi, some terrifying incidents occurred on set. The movie, parts of which were filmed inside a former mental institution, centres on the demonic possession of Emily Brenneck and how her family responds to the crisis. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, known for his portrayal of Negan on The Walking Dead, told DHR about some of the eerie moments during the filming of the movie. Fluorescent lights would explode mid-take, and cold bursts of wind would suddenly sweep over a closed set. It always happened in the middle of doing key scenes, he recalled. The Possession isn't the only horror movie that experienced unnerving incidents on set, as reported on Medium in 2018. During the filming of 2005's The Amityville Horror, for one, actor Ryan Reynolds claimed that he, along with other cast and crew members, would wake up at 3:15 a.m. every day. That's the same time that Ronald DeFeo shot and murdered his family members. I feel like that Ryan Reynolds one is probably just him trying to sell the movie, right? But like if people hear that, they were actually waking up at the time they were killed, that it would just make sense that it was just to promote the movie. And we're gonna finish now with this one, an article from Vanity Fair titled "The Most Cursed Hit Movie Ever Made," and this is about Rosemarys Baby. In 1967, Era Levin was already, by most anyone's standards, a very, very successful writer. At 21, he'd sold 2 TV scripts to NBC. Soon after, a Broadway play garnered a Tony nod, and his first novel, in which a ruthless young man murders his pregnant lover, won the 1954 Edgar Award. But with every hit came a flop, and success always seemed to come with a cost. A theme rooted deeply in all his best works, especially Rosemary's Baby. A hit novel turned iconic film, Rosemary's Baby was a massive success that, according to half a century of pop culture lore, is also cursed. Did Levin's tale of lapsed Christian Rosemary, who unknowingly carries and births the devil in return for her actor-husband's stage success, really jinx all those who got near it? And if so, why did Levin himself stay so seemingly unscathed? Like all good scary stories, this one starts out very ordinary. In 1965, struggling as always for his next big idea, Levin looked no further than his pregnant wife in their New York apartment. He blocked every would-be parent's feelings of anxiety atop an imminent historical moment. June 1966, or 666, or aka the number of the beast as predicted in the New Testament's book of Revelation. Religious counterculture was already swirling. The Church of Satan was soon to be established in San Francisco, and in April 1966, Time magazine had just famously asked on its cover, "Is God dead?" Levin went even darker. What if he took the birth of Jesus and turned the whole thing upside down? What if God was not only dead, but the devil lived? A Jewish atheist, Levin nonetheless wrote with mounting reservations. He was sort of taking notes, he said, of his wife's progress alongside Rosemary's, but flatly refused to let her read the manuscript. His fears were both personal and professional. The book was blasphemy, perhaps, and Levin feared backlash, blacklisting from publishers, or much worse. Published 50 years ago this spring, Rosemary's Baby was instead immediately declared perfect, the best horror novel ever crafted, a modern masterpiece. Rave reviews ran in every paper. Truman Capote likened Levin to Henry James. 4 million copies flew off store shelves. Levin, not unlike the greedy antagonist in one of his own success-obsessed works, was granted the wildest level of literary success that he might have ever hoped for. A year later, the success only continued with the movie, directed by Roman Polanski, a European author looking for his own big Hollywood break. More impeccable reviews. Roger Ebert wrote Polanski outdoes Hitchcock. Liz Smith in Cosmopolitan called it sheer perfection. Variety praised just about everyone involved. Polanski had triumphed. Star Mia Farrow was outstanding. Composer Christoph Komeda score was top-notch. But soon after, the curse began. The first unlucky soul was Komeda. Details of his death are still scarce, but Polanski told it this way. In autumn of 1968, then 37-year-old Komeda was roughhousing at a party when he fell off a rocky escarpment and into a 4-month coma. The very same affliction Levin's witches used to kill Rosemary's suspicious friend in the book. Komeda never regained consciousness and died in Poland the following year. In April 1969, producer William Castle, sick with worry from the hate mail he received constantly, was suddenly stricken with severe kidney stones. While delirious in the hospital, he hallucinated scenes from the film and was said to have yelled, "Rosemary, for God's sake, drop the knife." Castle recovered just barely, but never made a Hollywood hit again. Then there's Polanski's fate, told and retold into legend even by him. Polanski had relocated to California alongside his new girlfriend, actress Sharon Tate, who was fresh off her first movie role as a witch in Eye of the Devil, just before filming began. She had gunned hard for the lead role in Rosemary's Baby, but Paramount cast Mia Farrow. Tate instead loitered around the set, appearing uncredited like a ghost in the background of Rosemary's young people only party scene and becoming increasingly obsessed with the occult. Many years later, a friend quoted her in print as having said, "The devil is beautiful. Most people think he's ugly, but he's not." Polanski last saw Tate, by then his wife and very pregnant, in July 1969, noting in his autobiography a grotesque thought he had at the time. "You will never see her again," he wrote. Tate was brutally murdered on August 8th by the Manson family, as was their unborn son, all while Rosemary's Baby still lingered in theatres. Unable to make sense of such a tragedy and captivated by the stories of the Manson family, the public took to Satan and curses as the only explanation. Internet fanatics say, like Guy Woodhouse, Polanski made his young wife a blood sacrifice for his still untouchable status in Hollywood and beyond. Others maintain the Manson murders were a mere moment in a grand satanic conspiracy scored by the Beatles. The White Album was written largely at an Indian meditation. The song title Helter Skelter, albeit misspelled, was scrawled in blood at the crime scene. And a dozen years later, Lennon was assassinated across the street from the Dakota, the gabled landmark where Rosemary's Baby was filmed. But if Rosemary's Baby is actually cursed, how did Era Levin dodge his fate? He didn't, of course. While Levin never fell from a cliff to his dramatic demise, he suffered a more fitting kind of poetic justice. First, his marriage crumbled, with the divorce finalised in 1968. He never rode the Rosemarys Baby wave into Hollywood, perhaps a blessing in disguise, but he certainly got the fame he sought. Catholics in particular bombarded him with ongoing criticism, as did the Catholic Church, which very publicly slapped a C rating, meaning condemned, onto the film for its mockery of religious persons and practices. Levin didn't believe in witches and curses. He said over and over again, yet fear grew in him just the same. On a 1980 episode of The Dick Cavett Show, appearing alongside a gregarious Stephen King, Levin sits quiet, pensive and insecure. "I don't recall being scared at all," he said of his childhood horror inspirations, "but now I'm terrified." And that, my friends, is that. I feel like a lot of these are probably just coincidence. I mean, the Exorcist stuff is probably like the weirdest, but like the stuff with Rosemary's Baby, I mean, bad stuff happens all the time, right? So surely it's just coincidence, but maybe not. Maybe making these movies puts a curse on you. Maybe. We'll never ever know. But that is going to do it for tonight's video. I really hope you did enjoy it. If you did and you're able to, then please do give it a like and subscribe if you're new. And I hope you all really enjoy the 2-hour long video on Thursday. But until the next video, everybody,